So tonight on Last Meal Real Deal, we're going to be talking about Arthur Frederick Good III. And I'm going to be making his last meal. I'm going to be sharing it with a good family friend named Aaron. His last meal was steak, broccoli, corn, and cookies. So I'm going to be showing you how I make steak, and then we're going to roast some corn in the oven. We're also going to roast the broccoli because a lot of y'all do not understand broccoli is delicious if you cook it right. No boiling over here. And I'm going to make some good snickerdoodles too. So we're going to get all that together, and then we're going to talk about this heinous crime. So let's get started. What you want to do is have your steak be room temperature. You're gonna pull it out of the fridge at least an hour before you start. And then I'm going to just liberally throw some sea salt over that. A little bit more. You don't want to under season because it's a thick cut of meat, so you don't want to, you want to make sure that it gets coated on both sides. I'm gonna crack pepper over that, and then flip it. I'm gonna wash my hands and do the same thing. First, we're gonna sift out some flour. Try not to get it everywhere like I'm doing. That's fine. You can do this several times actually, but you want to sift it before you measure it. So we're going to measure out 2 and the 3rd, 4th cup, and 3/4 cups of flour. So boom. Half teaspoon of baking powder, teaspoon of baking soda, dash of salt. So we're gonna whisk together our sifted flour, our baking soda, baking powder, and salt, and these are our dry ingredients. And these are our dry ingredients, and we're gonna set that aside for now. Next, I've got a cup of butter, which is 2 sticks at room temperature. And we're gonna go ahead and cream our butter and sugar together. So I've got butter, a cup and 2 tablespoons of white granulated sugar. We're gonna do a process called creaming then. And you're gonna wanna get everything in this bowl to come together and to be a pale yellow. You'll be able to see it. We got our butter and our sugar and our vanilla in here just like so. Scrape the sides every few minutes while you're mixing it up. And then what we're gonna do next, we're gonna add our eggs. One at a time. Now, if you like to live dangerously like I do, you can crack them in directly, but I recommend cracking them into a bowl first, just so you don't get any shell in there. Looks like the butter is separated, and if that is the case, then it's in parts. So I'm gonna do like a third of it, and then mix it. And scrape these sides, get it all in there. And I'm gonna go ahead, add a little bit more. And then last little bit. The sides down, get all of that in there. You don't want to overmix, because that'll make your cookies tough. Once you get all your ingredients incorporated, this is our sugar cookie dough. Okay. I'll try some. A tablespoon of our dough, and form little balls with your best kitchen tools, your hands. And then we're gonna dip them in cinnamon sugar. That's what makes a sugar cookie a snickerdoodle. So we're gonna put them on parchment paper as little balls. We're gonna spread out in the oven. So just kind of repeat this process. On some parchment paper. Forgot to add that part. And these are gonna be in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. Now I have rinsed off my broccoli, and I'm just gonna take my knife, whatever that is. And just you want to break them off into pieces that your mouth can fit around. I don't like this part. Okay, so next we're gonna get started on our roasted broccoli. We're gonna do Parmesan broccoli tonight. So we're gonna toss in some olive oil, sea salt, Parmesan, red crushed pepper, Italian seasoning, some minced onion, and all the minced garlic that you can muster. salt stick. Boom bow, broccoli. Next we're gonna do our roasted corn. This is clearly a very butter forward episode. We're gonna make an herb butter to spread over our little corn in a cob, and we're gonna wrap them in individual aluminum foil packets and throw those in the oven so they come out all nice and beautiful. So in that, we've got our softened stick of butter, fried parsley, Italian seasoning, sea salt, minced garlic, black pepper, and Mud Secret, little smoked paprika. Use this herbed butter to roast our corn, and we're also going to use it to finish our steaks. Butter in our corn. Oh, it's crisp. Cast iron skillet here. We're heating it up. We're gonna get it nice and hot. I've got it on high heat. And I'm gonna add both butter and olive oil to this. Oh yeah. Go ahead and throw that down in there. You want to get a good sear before you turn it. I'm gonna throw my parmesan and rosemary into the tray. Add a little bit more garlic. Add a little bit more butter. You can cook your steak to your desired doneness. For me, I'm going for a medium rare. Okay, after you pull your steak out, you're gonna want to let it rest. It's not blood, it's myoglobin, but people think it's blood. You want to let your steak rest for at least 10 to 20 minutes before you cut into it. Go ahead and throw. Go ahead and tent it with some foil just to keep from cooling down too much. But when you cut into it, you want all those juices to not be in your plate. You want them in your mouth. roasted broccoli with a little lemon juice, a little added acidity. Just make it taste a little crispy. That's the right word. So the aluminum foil isn't hot, so we're just gonna corn. Hey guys. So also hey Aaron.
Hey, what's up? What's going on, Chi-Chi?
Made you a little dinner tonight. We're just hanging out. Thank you for coming.
Oh no, thank you for having me.
So we've got steak, broccoli, corn, and some cookies. And as you know already, this dinner does not come without strings.
Oh no. So
we're gonna eat, and I'm gonna tell you about just one of the worst stories that I have come across. This is the last meal of Arthur Frederick Good III, also known as Freddie. They called him Freddie. And he's reportedly one of the most hated men in Florida State Prison's on Florida State Prison's death row, which is wild because Ted Bundy was also on death row in Florida at the same time. Even he was lower than Ted Bundy.
Oh.
Yeah. Ted Bundy apparently at one point was trying to steal his cookies or something. I don't know.
Not the cookies.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you are more hated than Ted Bundy, you got a lot of stuff to work on.
Easily so.
Well, let's go ahead.
Leave it to Florida.
Leave it to Florida. Leave it to Florida. Let's go ahead and dig in first.
Already know. Bon appetit.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's see what you did there. Okay.
I try.
Try. You succeeded.
Thank you. A little background. Arthur Good III was born on March 28, 1954 in Hyattsville, Maryland. He began to show behavior of a pedophile in his teenage years. He began to show trying to lure. He got a reputation in his neighborhood very quickly. He got into trouble with the law several times. He was arrested for molesting a 9-year-old boy in his neighborhood, and his parents shelled out $25,000 to bail him out. While he was out on bail, he sexually assaulted and molested an 11-year-old boy.
What in the world? Talk about not knowing your child. How they let this man...
Anyways, so he was sentenced to 5 years probation with the condition that he get psychological treatment at Spring Grove Hospital. But that treatment was voluntary. So he was able to decide that he was done after 15 weeks and checked himself out. And then he took a bus down to Coral Grove, Florida, where his parents had moved. So this was 1975. Then once he gets to Coral Grove, Florida, he commits the crime that he is going to be known for specifically, that's going to cause his execution. On March 5th, 1976, Good encountered Jason Verdau at a school bus stop in Cape Coral. He lured Jason into nearby woods with the claim that he had lost something and needed his help to find them. So when he had him alone in the woods, he assaulted him and then strangled him and left him there.
Just the body, just right there in the woods, just as it was.
Yeah, he sexually assaulted him. The police recovered his body soon after. They found this poor boy. He was nude except for his socks.
What in the world?
And they knew about Good, and they knew that he was actually questioned twice within the investigation for this case, and nothing came of it. He felt that they were onto him, so he took a bus back to Maryland, right?
Back to Maryland.
And he stopped at Spring Grove Hospital, where he was put the first time for his psychological treatment after his where he was put on probation. But he only stayed there for 5 minutes because he felt like the receptionist was calling the cops on him, so he just left. But they didn't know who he was or anything. There was no there was no reason for him to think that. He was just paranoid that he was where he
It
was.
sounds like for a reoccurring criminal, it should have been more surveillance-wise, or at least should have been looked after.
You're not wrong. So he leaves this hospital in Baltimore, and he goes to not Falls Church yet. They were so later that day, in Maryland, he picks up 10-year-old Billy Arth and convinced him to go with him to DC. They spend the next 10 days in DC touring and staying in hotels and stuff. God knows what was happening. Kenny, it's an 11-year-old that they came across, and he convinced him to go on a bus with them to Tyson's Corner, Virginia. And then once there, he took both Billy and Kenny on a hike with him in Virginia, and he ended up making Kenny strip nude, and then he strangled him with a belt and made Billy watch, and he was horrified. You know? It's crazy. So
It's like, where were the parents during the whole Benny situation for like 10 days?
they took them, right? Okay, so get this. Mind you, in the next few days, they're in Falls Church. So a Falls Church housewife spots Good and Billy and recognizes Billy from a picture in the paper talking about the kidnapping and crime. She calls the police. Boom, they've got him. So as he was being handcuffed, he says, "You can't do nothing to me. I'm sick." A Maryland jury disagreed, and they convicted him. He was sentenced to a life sentence in Maryland, and then shortly after, they shipped him right back to Florida to be tried for his murder of Jason, a 9-year-old Jason, in Fort Myers, Florida. And he wanted to, I mean, I guess, look, so in America you have like the right to be your own lawyer, and that's what he wanted to do, and like he did that, and they allowed him to do so. But what he did when he was, so he just kind of made a case for why he should be executed. He just went into gruesome details of his crimes. He really showed no remorse. And he was just, I don't know,
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on at the time with mental health, but it just seemed like
honestly,
failed.
in the 70s, there was not much going on with mental health, but there are a lot of people that are mentally ill that don't hurt other people.
I guess it shows how much they were failing back then.
Yeah. Well, they let him defend himself, and he really didn't defend himself. He kind of just used that time to grandstand and brag a little bit, but he was sentenced to death on March 24th, 1977.
Appropriately.
Yeah, which is good. But the thing is, it's like, yay, he was sentenced to death, but also he used his time waiting for execution to send letters to the victims of his family. I mean, he used his time waiting for execution to send letters to the family of his victims, like weird taunting letters. He wrote letters to freaking everybody. For what he wrote to the president, just on some like weirdo stuff. Like he couldn't just let people. He couldn't let these people mourn their child.
Yeah, like he couldn't just let it go.
He couldn't just let it go. And then he would just, for years, he would just contact people that he had no business contacting. He, like, while he was on death row, he had a weird, like, obsession with Ricky Schroeder, who at the time was, like a pretty big child actor. I don't know if you've heard of the show Silver Spoons. You're younger than me. I've seen a few episodes, and I'm, like... I'll be 30. Have you ever seen it? Okay, well, at the time, this kid was 13.
I apologize for my youth.
I envy you. But he would carry a picture of Ricky Schroeder with him, like, around everywhere. He was obsessed. And that's, like, the other death row inmates, yeah, like, they're all criminals, but they did not mess with this guy at all. Even Ted Bundy would bully this. They could not stand him. He was literally, like, the most hated guy on death row. And to the end, he was just awful. He did an interview with John Waters, of Baltimore, for the Baltimore City paper, a month before his scheduled execution. And he was not really remorseful at all. He felt like he was a victim somehow, that, like, if pedophiles were just given a place in society, they wouldn't have to murder to cover up the crimes. It's like, no.
Burn them all.
Burn them all. But anyways, that was a month before his execution. He was electrocuted by the state via electric chair on April 5th, 1984. His last meal request was steak, broccoli, corn, and cookies, and he also reportedly requested to have a little boy sit in his lap one more time. Obviously, that request was denied, and that was done for him. His last words were, "I have remorse for the two boys I murdered, but it's hard for me to show it." And he said that tearfully, but
Crocodile tears.
But then, electric chair, and now we're eating his last meal. The world is better without him.
Easily so.
Easily so, right?
Yeah, it could have been done from a long time ago, but I mean, they tried. I mean, they were trying.
I don't know if they did try, because
not hard enough.
I mean, his parents bailed him out multiple times. Actually, I was reading about his mom talking about her, like, him years later, and she actually said, "Oh, how did she?" She said, "I hope he's with Jesus now." She's like, "No." No, he's not, though. I feel bad, because it's like every parent just wants to love their child and do the best for their child. But you just have to know when a dud is a dud.
Exactly.
This kid came out a dud, and
unfortunately, he just went.
It is what it is. We need some of this corn. Oh.
Exactly. You need to eat more, honestly. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I fed you.
And I appreciate that.
That's the story of Arthur Frederick Good III, a.k.a. Freddy, a.k.a. he's not with Jesus, he's in hell. So I fed you his last meal. And I told you the real deal about him. And that's that.
It's nice.
So, what I want to do every time, so we're finished up here. I want to know, if you committed some heinous crime, which you wouldn't, you're a sweetheart.
Always, you know.
What would your last meal be?
My last meal? That's honestly a really good question.
I know it is.
Have like a last drink? Have like a couple last drinks or something like that?
You can. I mean, it depends. It depends on where you did your crime.
I did my crime.
Yeah, we did somebody that got white wine So
I'd probably just have a whole little Thanksgiving feast.
Thanksgiving.
A little high, just big spread.
oh,
With
you know
multiple things of sweet potato pie. That's my big
that's a
go-to.
good one.
That's my big go-to.
Thanksgiving dinner. It's a really good last meal. Oh, okay. No, that's a good one.
A good hearty meal. KO.
KO, literally. That's morbid.
They got the
So thank you for coming and thank you for listening.
Oh, thank you for having me.
That's that.
I would say it was nice knowing about the Arthur guy, but
It was not. No, he's very troubling.
rest in hell. Not even. Don't rest in
Don't
hell.
burn.
Burn.
We have unrest in.
Continue
hell.
burning.
Cheers.
Last meal